Hi guys, Blake here today with Lilley's Landing Resort and Marina on Upper Lake Taneycomo. It is the 27th of February, Saturday, and I'm going to do the wind cast for you today. So, let's see. Today I've boated up here. I'm starting right below the tennis court. I'm over here on the shallow side. On the north bank, and I'm gonna throw a 16th ounce sculpin head, sculpin feather jig with 2-pound line. Let's see, they are running somewhere between a half unit and 1 unit today. They had it at 1 unit this morning, and then they slowed it down to a half unit, and then I heard the buzzers go off about an hour ago. Heard the horns blow up at the dam. So they're back to, I'd say they're back closer to the 1 unit again. So a little fluctuation going on today. We started off this morning, a little foggy conditions on the lake. It was a little warmer outside. And then around 10 o'clock area, I got out and took some friends fishing. And the sun came out and it warmed up here to, probably a little bit, right at 50 degrees or so. And we have a rain coming in tonight. It's supposed to start raining around 5 or 6, but the sky is getting awfully dark already, so we might see that a little bit. Oh, there's a fish right there. We might see that rain come in a little sooner than they're predicting. Lots of boats on the water today. It looks like almost like a summer day out here with the amount of boat traffic. Everybody's out enjoying the nice weather on Saturday. Also, I believe that one of the resorts down Lake, Tanglewood, has a tournament going on, so we're seeing some of that boat traffic up here, and quite a few of the guides are out guiding, and so everybody's out enjoying some fishing today. This morning we went up and started right below the root wad up by the dam, and we could not get a fish to bite a San Juan worm or a scud until we got down to the Trophy Run section. From Trophy Run down to Lookout Island, we did fairly well on the cerise San Juan worm. Still never found a fish on a scud today. And then we made one drift down where I'm fishing right now. Now this is when the sun was shining, so it could make a difference. We made one drift down through here, from here to Lookout, or from here to the Narrows, and did really, really well on these sculpin jigs. Except, I know a couple days ago I came up here and fished the sculpin jig, and the fish were out in the middle, and it seemed like we found a pretty healthy line of, there's one, pretty healthy line of fish right over here in the shallow water today. So I'm not sure exactly what changed, but I didn't really find any fish out in the middle. We found them all over here in some pretty skinny water. This looks like it might be a healthier fish. I don't know if maybe there's some sculpin fish that are laying on this flat over here, and they're over here feeding on them, or if that's just where they're at today. Oh yeah. Really light colored rainbow, but really fat. Oh my goodness. That's what I call a hook bender. He's so heavy he's bending my hook right now. beautiful, light colored, light spots, super healthy. I'll just give you a quick peep at what he did to my hook just now, trying to take him off. I think it just about bent it completely straight. Yeah, didn't bend it quite out as far as I thought he did, but he was definitely putting some weight on it there. You know, the wind's kind of been blowing in from an angle today, pushing you back towards the bluff, so you gotta keep scooting back in towards your fishing spot if you're trying to fish this north bank over here. But yeah, it's strange how, you know, even though the flow is the same it was the other day when I was catching them all in the middle, now they're all over on the shallow side. Talked to quite a few other people today fishing. I've heard night crawlers are working good. I've heard, oop, there was one following me to the boat. Heard people doing good on jigs. I'm not sure what the fly is called, but it's basically a 100th ounce jig head with, there was one with yarn wrapped around it with a little yarn tail hanging off. It's not a mega worm, but a couple of guys reported that they were really doing well, and they were fishing that stretch down below Trout Hollow dock, that inside edge. The water is moving slow enough today for me to go with a 1/32 ounce jig, but I chose the 16th ounce because we've had some pretty significant wind gusts blowing through here today. I find it a little strange that we couldn't pick a fish off on the scud today. I don't know if there's just not as many flowing through the water right now, or maybe they changed colors and gray wasn't the right color. Also, you know, I'm completely unaware of whether this is true or not, but our water temperature here has gotten pretty cold. It is what I would assume probable that maybe those scuds can't live in super cold water. And so maybe we're seeing a decrease in the amount of scuds because of that. But I do know that they were biting the San Juan worms pretty good. Dwayne and Uncle Brother Dave. And Jack and Blake Harris went out and did some night fishing last night, I believe, and caught some walleye. I think these sculpin jigs work pretty fair in both low light and high sun conditions, but I'd say I'd favor them probably more whenever the sun is shining brighter. I think they're dark enough to give off that dark silhouette whenever there's not as much sun, which is why they still work pretty good whenever it's overcast. But I do tend to find more fish on the tri-olive jig and the all sculpin jig whenever the sun's shining a little brighter. But I had all my rods rigged up already from the fishing trip this morning, so I talked to somebody yesterday who said it was one of our rental boats. They came back in and said they did really, really good. Now, taking into mind that yesterday was a pretty overcast day, but they did really good on a purple and black jig. I want to say that they went down towards Monkey Island, but I don't exactly remember which direction they went yesterday. And I'm starting to feel a couple raindrops. I may not make it. I haven't looked at the weather forecast since this morning. It might have moved that rain up. This little stretch right here from below the golf course down to the Narrows was where we really caught a lot of fish, and so far I haven't found one interested. Funny how things can change like that within just an hour or two, or it's a matter of clouds or no clouds. I don't think we're really expecting any significant amount of rain here, so I don't think it's a pressure problem due to a front moving in, but that could also be a possibility. There's one. Or maybe I'm just not patient enough. Man, these are some healthy fish today. I will say that this morning was a little slow, but the size of the fish that we caught, just like these two fish so far, have been very healthy. Not super long, but very thick. There was another one. There's definitely a line right out there where maybe the water's just a touch deeper, little channel. And that seems to be where they're all laying at. Something I like to make sure of, sometimes these feathers can get a little wrapped up around the hook, and I don't think it allows the feathers to breathe quite as well, so everyone pulled down straight. There's another one. Well, these fish have been eating very well. You know, another possibility I didn't think about is whenever there's so many scuds in the water, they'll eat so many of them until they just won't hardly touch the fly, the scud fly, which I guess is another possibility. I have to get down there and look at the camera sometimes to make sure I'm not running into the 40-minute area. Ooh, that was one. You know, the last couple times I've been up to the dam and drug like scuds or anything on underneath an indicator. I don't seem to do quite as well up there in this last week or two. And I think it has to do with the amount of moss that's on the bottom. It's not that the flies are getting hung up in the moss, I just don't know if they're not feeding as heavily through there because of it. Whereas I can look down at the bottom right now and there's some moss, but not nearly as covered as the top half up by the dam looks right now. Oh! I had one chase that right to the boat. It's funny how those trout will turn around, and I mean they'll immediately run away from it as soon as it stops moving. There's one. This guy's a little smaller. You got that hook good though. There you go. Ooh, there was another one. Yeah, I really think that there's a pretty heavy number of fish laid up along the side. I can see a bunch of them midging over there too. So I am just now entering the very top end of the Narrows with the close to 1 unit they're running. If you raise your trolling motor up and take your big motor out of the water, you can definitely drift over this with a flat bottom boat, no problem. I actually think for this little portion of it, since it's so shallow here, I'm gonna throw the exact same thing except a 1/32 ounce, still on 2-pound line. This will just kind of keep me off the bottom just a touch more. think I'll make this my second to last cast. I'm not seeing nearly as much activity through this section as it was up there. I don't even see any fish on the bottom here right now. Alright, last cast. Well, we thank you guys for watching today. Like and share us on Facebook, and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't. And we'll get out here and we'll do it again for you tomorrow, guys. Thanks for watching.